What's going on, guys? I know no one's watching stream yet, but we're going to be talking a little bit about cars during the stream. We're going to be talking about Need for Speed and what happened to Need for Speed. For those who don't know, EA has quit making games. We will never get the Need for Speed Most Wanted remake. That just is not going to happen.
Losers.
EA's the losers. I mean, we lost, but they're the losers. They're going to kill their own
Oh no,
franchise.
I'm saying EA is the losers.
Oh yeah.
They can't tell a goddamn hex bolt from an octagon bolt.
They're like, isn't it the same thing? And that's like saying metric and standard are the same thing, but it technically is. Get the fuck out. Get out. No, but quite frankly, guys, my tastes in cars, they've changed a little bit, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I uh, I am a Ford guy through and through, in all legitimacy. My first car was not a Ford. My first car was gonna be a Mustang. I ended up getting a Mustang, but we're gonna talk about that briefly. Um, and now I'm driving a Camaro. I mean, I still drive the Explorer, but I'm thinking about getting a third car. So my two cars I currently have is the 2014 Camaro LT. Um, some people are making fun of me because, and I would have done the same thing when about 4 or 5 years ago. That's how crazy it's been. Because 4 years ago was literally 2022. That was literally when Modern Warfare 2 came out. Like Modern Warfare 2, the remake of Modern Warfare 2, not the OG Modern Warfare 2. You know what I'm saying, right? So within that a lot of time, my interest in cars, my taste of cars, my understanding of cars has changed a little bit. I've gotten actual time to drive some of these cars in real life, and with that being said, some of my opinions have changed. And one of those opinions is practicality. Um, it matters because let me tell you guys, the insurance cost of my Camaro, because it has a six-cylinder, not the eight-cylinder. Okay, I pay $308 a month for two cars, and one of them being a red sports car, pony car, muscle car, whatever you want to call it. That's crazy. I'm a male under 25 with speeding tickets on my record. I want to emphasize that. Um, and a few years ago, when I was younger, before I had a few years of driving experience, the insurance quote, if I was to go and do my own insurance plan at the time by myself, just my Ford Explorer would have been $534 from Allstate, and that's me applying by myself. So for a couple years, I had to be on my mom's plan, and that saved her a lot. That saved a lot of money in general, because I mean, paying like $500 was what I was paying a month for the car, so that's like 1,000 a month, and on my income, that just was not going to happen. So we had to be on my mom's insurance plan, and some people make fun of me for that, and that's fine. They can go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? We all make
Hey,
mistakes.
nothing wrong with that. For the longest time, after I became an adult, after I turned 18, I was on my parents' insurance plan. And then, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, because like Dominic would try to use that against me. And it's like, buddy, you still live at home. I don't live at home. I said, you don't pay any bills. I have to pay all of my bills. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Eh,
But see, when I got my Chevy Colorado, for like 1 month, for the first month I had it, I was on my parents' insurance, and then I went and got my own insurance. And I had to look at it. And so what I went with was State Farm. When I got my insurance, it was $460 a month for just one vehicle. But since I've had my truck for a little bit over a year now, it's went down to $340 a month.
well, and a large part of the insurance cost was because was financing my Explorer. Now that my Explorer's paid off, the bank no longer owns it. And because the bank no longer owns it, I don't have to pay these crazy insurance premiums. If that makes any sense.
That might have been also why my insurance went down. Because my truck, my payment plan was based off a 6-year payment plan. But I paid that sucker off in a year. But
Yeah.
no. As far as like practicality goes, I mean, my Chevy wasn't my first truck I ever owned. My first truck I ever bought was a '96 Ford Ranger.
Well, I mean, what I mean by practicality is like, well, no, not quite. It's what I mean is power, performance. Like, is the engine in my Camaro the best engine you can have in a Camaro? No, it's not. And so what really comes down to is, why do I need all that extra power? Because the ZL1 is a track car. Let's be honest. Okay, let's talk. That's a track car. And have you ever driven a manual track car on busy city streets, bro, where you're constantly stopping and going and people cutting you off and you have to stop with an engine? Dude, that is very stressful driving, bro. I'm not going to lie. That is very stressful. It's bad on the car. It's not designed to be driven every day.
Constantly downshifting, the RPM flux with the gearbox.
Yeah, you're going to have to replace your clutch every like 30,000 miles. Or something like that, you know? It's driving a ZL1 is just not a. Hold on 1 second. Hey, what's going on, man? Going pretty good, man. 5233. But you know what I'm saying? Like, driving a ZL1 is not the best option for a daily driver. So I'm content with my Camaro being a 6-cylinder engine. Now is the SS a good option for a V8? Yeah, the SS is semi-affordable, but you know, like is it what I could afford with what I had at the time? No, and I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. I could literally put the V8 engine. I could engine swap my car later. The only difference is when I engine swap my car, I'm still going to be paying V6 insurance on a V8. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it because of how it's titled. So, you know, that's actually kind of a smart thing to do. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, there's a lot that I wanted to do to my Camaro, like looks-wise, like body panel kits and stuff like that. Not really anything crazy, but like I want to replace the rear bumper and give something a little bit more sporty. It's kind of flat and plain. Nothing going on. I want like cutouts and like, you know, a diffuser kind of situation going there. You know, something stylish. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't really change performance. It's just for looks. And it just pops off and pop it back in. Easy to do. Quick. Simple. But it's effective. And, you know, the thing about, like, what I'm going to do exhaust-wise, I'm going to do long tube headers, and I'm going to cam my V6. It's going to sound great. It's going to sound like a V8. It's going to perform a little bit better than usual. And by the way, my Mustang, my 2004 4.6 liter V8, only produced like 260 horsepower. This V6 Camaro stock produces like 328 horsepower, and if I easily can add like 60 horsepower to the car, you know, we're talking of like almost 400 horsepower out of my car, and that's plenty for daily driving. For driving just.
You just don't get a diesel truck nowadays because, you know, modern diesel trucks, you gotta put that DEF system in there.
So when it comes to diesel cars, I prefer like diesel BMWs. Like the turbo diesel BMW 3 Series. Those are cool.
Also, another car that's diesel is a Volkswagen Jetta TDI.
Yeah, like the Germans, unlike the Japanese, the Germans are cool. They fucking put diesel engines in basically everything. I mean, you know, like, have you seen like the military dirt bikes that have diesel engines in them and stuff like that? You know, they can go 100 miles, bro, worth of range because of like how fuel efficient diesel is.
Yeah. I mean, oh shit. cop in this game. He just spawned in the track.
I want to make it very clear. I don't hate Honda with the conviction I used to.
Oh yeah, I remember you used to give Honda shit.
And what I realized, it's not the car that I hate. Yeah, they're ugly, but what I really hate is the community that rallies behind them. I mean, like, look, man. I hate cars that sound like lawnmowers or weed whackers. All right. Clapped out
Oh
90s
yeah.
Civics with straight pipes, they sound like lawnmowers. I'm sorry. It doesn't sound cool. Especially when it does that ring, ding, 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 ding. It's like, dude, it's like you're driving a lawnmower at that point. I'm sorry. I like that deep, clean rumble of a V8, you know. But, I'll come out and say it. My Ford Explorer, yeah, it's kind of a boring car. It's an SUV. I've owned an SUV. So I can, I can speak on it a little bit. I understand why people own them, okay? But I don't like that SUVs have replaced everything. Like there's not a brand that doesn't have an SUV. You know what I mean?
I mean shit now. I mean shit. Dodge has put Hellcats in their Durangos.
Well, see, I think that's part of the problem with like the modern car energy or not energy industry. Let's put these crazy high performance engines in everything. Like let's put these crazy ass
Yeah,
700
my
horsepower
mom
engines.
has a Dodge Durango with the Hellcat engine in it. I mean,
I mean, like, look, man, awesome engines, but like putting them in boring cars doesn't make the boring cars cool. Like, okay, and I get the Ford Explorers, right? And I'm gonna say they're the exception to the rule because they have cop versions, right? Because they have the cop engines and stuff. And I mean, so do most the so does the Chevy. What is it? The Trailblazer or whatever. The Chevy Blazer, I think, is what it is that the cops use.
I always thought, oh, I don't know. I know. As far as like Chevy goes, you have the not the Suburban. Can't remember which.
Well, there's the Suburban, there's the Trax, right? I think
And then there's the Tahoe.
the Tahoe and Equinox. Um, my mom owned an Equinox. It's a shitty car. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it's a pretty shitty car. Reliability's a joke. Like, I feel like with Chevy, a lot of Chevys suck. You know what I mean? And I own a Camaro. You know. Um, but I'm gonna say it. Like the modern Impalas, the modern Chevy Cruze, those cars suck. They were built as cheap as can be. They're
Yeah.
not. They're not. Let me tell you something, bro. The Chevy engineers did not intend on you having that car more than 5, 6 years. All right. Anything beyond that is a miracle. I mean, well, it depends on how much driving you do and how you drive the car if you abuse it. But yeah, I'm telling you, man, those things are not built to last. After after 100 after your 75,000 miles, you're gonna start to see problems. After like 150,000 miles, the car is on its last limb. At 200,000 miles, anything past that's a miracle. And all these brands are doing that though. They're putting these crazy high performance engines in SUVs. Porsche does it. Lamborghini does it. What is it? The Urus. I mean, that thing's existence is a joke to me. What does Dodge have? The Trackhawk Durango or whatever it is. Is that the Durango with the Hellcat engine?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even really know.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. Going 120 miles an hour doesn't feel as cool in an SUV as it would in an actual sports car. What do you think, Slayer? Bradley, what do you think?
I mean, that SUV is not aerodynamic.
Right. There's gonna be a lot of resistance. Turning, maneuvering, doing anything is gonna feel whack ass. You know what I mean? Highway speeds, wind is gonna give you a lot of drag and a lot of resistance. You know what I mean? Like it's just not. I don't know. It just doesn't seem cool. So I don't see the point of it. But all these people are following the trends. You can't go wrong producing an SUV. And I think part of the appeal is that they can sit there and say, well my Hellcat SUV is a family vehicle and it can still compete with sports cars. Well, it's either one or the other. It can't be all of it, bro. Because if it's a jack of all trades, it's a master of none. I'm sorry. Because here's the thing: driving on a track is tough on a vehicle. And when it comes to SUVs, I will always pick the naturally aspirated, like V6 engines, like the Ford. The 3.5 liter 6-cylinder engine that's in my Explorer right now, my 2015. That's an amazing engine. Why? Because it doesn't have all these fucking superchargers and doohickeys and all this other bullshit, right? So driving it from point A to point B and stop and go traffic is not tearing up my engine. The Trackhawk has a fucking. It's built with a fucking track engine in it. It's not built. I mean, I'm not. I can't. I can't really speak for it because I'm not a Hellcat guy. I don't know what kind of cooling system it has, but if I'm assuming it doesn't come with all that shit. You know what I mean? Like you have to buy all that shit separately. And so when you take it on a track, I'm sure you're going to destroy that engine. You know what I mean? I'm sure it has great low end torque specs, but I don't see the general appeal for it. I feel like a lot of dumb people buy those cars, tear them up, they lose their value, and then they're like, well, why did I do this? Let's go do it again. It's like, people like that have to be rich or stupid or both. You know. Now, when it comes to pickup trucks, yeah, they have to have a lot of power. Yeah, they have to have a lot of torque because they're towing. They're going off road. They need to get themselves out of ditches. They're built with duty and purpose behind that. You know what I mean? That torque is doing something. You know.
cop ain't gonna get me.
Hey, what's up, man? But I'm thinking about buying. I'm thinking about buying another car, and it's one I've already owned, by the way. Let me just put that out there. I'm honestly thinking about buying another BMW, the exact same one I used to own. Um, Something I didn't realize about the 328i is they have a hardtop convertible option, where it's not that soft canvas bullshit. It's an actual hardtop. But I'd like to own another BMW 328i. I mean, Slayer, remember how much I loved that car?
Oh yeah, I do.
Like, driving that car, especially the X-Drive, the all-wheel drive option, that car drove and handled so well. Like, it handled the snow very well, it handled the rain very well, it handled the hills very well. That car, believe it or not, for being a luxury, like, sports car, it went off-road a few times. I'm not saying I was doing some hardcore shit with it, but me and Chase went through a hill in it. Me and Steven went through a ditch in it. You know, like we went airborne, and you know, I honestly credit that car for saving my life because it handled so well off road that I was able to maneuver the car away from the guardrail and away from the fence and away from the overpass pillar that could have killed me and Steven when I went airborne. That car, I credit that car for saving my life. And by the way, after going airborne, after having its rear tire punctured and popped, after, you know, a bush in my undercarriage that had destroyed my tube for my coolant, and I'm leaking coolant everywhere, after, you know, my struts and my tie rods are demolished from landing going airborne, the car still got me home. Okay, so I credit that car with saving my life. I love that car, and I feel so bad that my experience with that car was short-lived. I only had that car for like a year and a half at that point. Um, I miss that car. I really do. You know, do I miss the high maintenance costs? Do I miss the bullshit trying to fucking fix the car? No. I still have some tools and stuff that I bought for that BMW in my toolbox at my mom's fiance's house. Um, and so if I had to, I don't have to buy a bunch of tools and stuff, and I know what I'm getting into. I already know what I'm getting into because I used to own that car.
Yep.
So for me,
That's the other thing with certain cars, with a lot of cars. Specifically diesel stuff, a lot of times you gotta buy diesel specific tools.
so you know, for me personally, would I own another BMW? Of course. You know, I'm not a BMW hater. And you know, I kind of want another like luxury car that makes me feel like I'm James Bond, right? Because that car would hand me my seatbelts, like it would hand you the seatbelt with this like weird arm thing, and I thought that was badass. My Camaro doesn't have heated seats or heated steering. My BMW did.
So pretty much like my truck, no heated seats or steering.
Bare minimum. You get the bare minimum. You get a backup camera. My BMW didn't have that. So I'd opt to get like a 2013 model or a 2012 model with the backup camera. If
So
I
my
can.
backup camera, so on those Chevy Colorados, the one from 2015, so the screen for the camera is where the radio's at. So you know it's got a radio screen. So here's the thing: when I put that sucker in reverse, the screen changes to show the backup camera.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I had to learn to back up a car without using blind spot mirrors or reverse. However, though, I will say this: when you put the BMW in reverse, your passenger side mirror auto tilts down so that you can see the lines. That was pretty cool.
So you know what's funny is with the whole backup camera, I don't ever use it, and part of the reason why I don't ever use it is because after I got laid off from that job at Arubis because the company got laid off, the company I was working for got laid off. I have a 6 foot long job box. In order for it to fit in my truck, I have to open the tailgate and take my toolbox out. For like a week and a half, I was driving my truck like that, and when I would go to park it, I had to back into a parking spot. So I know how to back that sucker into a parking spot with my back window being blocked.
So, I think I'd own a pickup truck one day. Probably a Ford F-150, honestly. But call me a sellout if you want, but I love my Fords. But no, I think I'm gonna pursue a car. Well, I think I'm gonna pursue a career in car sales. I'm gonna be a car salesman. Sell a bunch of cars, and then buy another Beamer, and then that'll be my work car. Because like, I don't know how to
What
describe.
dealership would you work at if you sold cars?
So there's a Mazda dealership. I'm not gonna say which one because of like doxing and stuff like that on the internet. I'm not gonna say what dealership it is, but it is a Mazda dealership. Um, and like here's my whole thing with sales, right? I really don't want to be like other car salespeople, right? I don't believe in tacking on a bunch of bullshit. Now, obviously, every store has their policies, but if it's not a documentation fee, if it's not the tax and title, if it's not anything to do with any of that stuff, it shouldn't be on there. It shouldn't be included. I don't give a fuck if the dealership has to recondition the car to be sold. All right, they're buying the car. That's all that matters to me. But those hidden fees, I don't want to be that salesman to do that. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know if that's the dealership that tacks that on or the salesman. If the salesman has any influence
Well, they
over
do
that.
that because most of them work on commission.
Okay, well, I'm not going to tack it on
So then
because,
you're gonna make less money.
well, it doesn't matter because I'll make more money because I'll be selling more cars. And I'll have more customers come back and recommend other customers to me. You know what I mean? Because that's why people don't like to buy cars today. That's why people don't like car deal. That's why people hate car salesmen. Because car salesmen tack on a whole bunch of extra shit, a bunch of added shit that the customer doesn't ask for.
Yeah, you do that, and then they're gonna single you out, and then they're gonna want to get rid of you.
Because I'm making more money, because I'm selling more cars, I'm moving inventory in today's crazy economy.
Because you're not doing it how they want it.
So it would
You're
be.
not doing it their way. It's not your way or the highway. It's their way.
So then it would be the dealership itself that taxes on then, and not the salesman.
Well, technically no, but I don't know.
Because I mean,
The way I know how the way with car salesmen, they do it the however the dealership wants it done way, not your way. It's kind of like Waffle House with taking orders and calling food. It's Waffle House way or it's not going to work. because here's the thing with Waffle House. So, you know, you take that order, you write it down, you mark it on your ticket book, you have to mark it a certain way, then you have to call it a certain way. That's why I say with car salesmen, it's not your way or the highway, it's their way. And if you don't do it their way, they're going to single you out.
Well, I mean, I don't know until I do it, but I know one
Plus, a
thing.
lot of car dealerships, I think, want you to have a college degree.
Oh well. I mean, here's the basic fact of what we're missing here. The thing is, how many car salesmen do you think really study their inventory, really know what's on the lot? How many car salesmen do you think actually go into their company and then look at how many cars were sold that month and last month and look at what cars were sold and for what amounts? Really study sales data. I'm not a salesman and I don't have no college education, but that's what I would do. How many car salesmen do you think have a vast experience with cars enough to be able to share information? Like with me, I'd be able to share, to a customer. It's say looking at an Audi. Hey, have you ever owned a German car before? Well, here's what my experience was. It took a very rare and exotic oil that's sold by the drum. So, and it's not sold. You can't buy it like at your regular like AutoZone or Advanced Auto or O'Reilly's. So BMW charged me $300 as a service because I had to buy it by the drum. So you're gonna have expensive oil changes and maintenance, but overall, like it's a good car. Performance-wise, you get all the luxury features you want. But if that doesn't matter to you, they're walking through something else. I mean, like, how comfortable do you think other car salesmen would be to say something that crazy, to say something like that, to challenge the system?
Because they're trying, because they want to get those expensive cars out.
Well, here's the other thing, is
Being
because
a
it's a
car salesman is like being a realtor.
well,
You're not
right.
there for the customer, you're there to make some money.
Well, right, but then again, your customer has to feel like their time is valued. If they feel like you're wasting their time, they're just going to walk away. Like obviously the main thing you want to look for is buyers or lookers. If you what you look for is people's facial expressions. They look at the car, they're you can tell right away that they like the car. But when they look into that little window sticker, they see something that they don't like. It's the price. It's the you know, it's stuff like that. And it's like, let's figure out, well, this is the type of car they like, but they're not going to buy it for this price. Well, what else do I have on my lot that's like this? If you're trying to buy a Camaro or a Mustang, I'm not going to sell you a minivan. That's insulting. There's basic principle. Obviously, if we have a low credit score bum with no money down, no cosigner, I mean, that's when we're going to have to look at some weird, funky options. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I will say this. When I went to buy my truck, I originally was looking at this little Tacoma, and then the guy was steering me more towards the Chevy. When I told him where I lived, he's like, "Oh, Burke County." So there's a lot of guys from that town, from that small county, do hunting. So you're gonna want a bigger truck with four-wheel drive on it. That motherfucker knew. That motherfucker got me. He got me to go for the Chevy.
Yeah.
Because he knew. When I said where I live, he's like, "Oh, okay, okay." What's even crazier is he let me test drive the vehicle even though I didn't have a driver's license at the time. Hey, That's some crazy shit.
Yeah. But I tell you one thing, though. My understanding of cars, my understanding
Yeah.
of cars, and my understanding of the market, my understanding of car prices, used and new, my understanding of people, moms, dads, tradespeople, people that work in like, people that do, hard manual labor. They're going to want something that's going to be able, knowing your buyers, knowing your customers. To me, that's the most important part of sales. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because every customer is different, but there's a lot of customers fall into different categories, right? So some customers, the vehicle they're buying that day is going to be probably the only vehicle they're going to own until it poops out and they got to go buy another one. So you got to sell them the best option that meets all their needs, if possible. They got a lot of kids. Do they want a minivan or do they want an SUV? Well, how many kids do you have? Okay. Do you plan on having much more? Okay, well, if you don't, the minivan has a lot of space, but a lot of it doesn't get fully used. So this SUV is going to probably get the job done. You know what I mean? And it's talking them into something. I mean, now obviously the dealership I went to when I bought my Mustang and my Camaro, the same dealership. Um, Obviously those people are crooks. You know what I mean? They literally sold me a death trap. They sold me a car with a rotted out frame, with a rotted out fuel tank, actively leaking fuel. It was an active environmental hazard. Um, the fucking. Did you see the picture, Bradley, of the fucking exhaust pipe welded to the fuel tank? I'm surprised that they didn't blow themselves up doing that. Obviously, it wasn't the fucking dealership that did that. It was the previous owner. But still, I ain't driving that fucking thing.
Well, I mean, you can weld an exhaust to a fuel tank if you empty the fuel out. You just kind of take the fuel tank out and then you take the exhaust, you get the metal ready, you weld it,
Well,
and
did you see
then...
the picture?
No, I did not.
You gotta remember, this fuel tank is rotted. It is actively leaking fuel all over itself. So even if they did, just empty the tank and all that, there's still like residue left behind on there. Either way, I wasn't driving that thing because I mean it was like remember when I called you and I was pissed off because there was a massive fuel stain in my parking spot where the Mustang was, and I was just like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like that dealership hated me, man, and I hated them. And that's what it boiled down to, is hatred, right? Because I went in there like I owned the place, and then they said, "Well, sir, we don't have a return policy." And I said, "Well, today you do." And dude, bro, they hated me from the very moment that I stepped foot in that door. And I was showing them the pictures, and I was showing them the inspection sheet, from the shop I took it to, and they're like, and I'm like, well, would you feel comfortable with your son or daughter driving this car? Would you feel comfortable driving this car? Well, I'm not a frame specialist. I'm not a mechanic. I can't answer those questions. It's like bullshit.
Oh, man. So, hey, so on that same topic of, crooked dealership. So my dad had bought, a few months ago, he bought a 2023 Ram 2500 Cummins, and he had it for like a month, and then, no, it might have been like 3 weeks, and he noticed the brakes were acting funny on it. So he ended up having to change the fucking brakes on it. Originally, he was just going to do the brake pads and rotors. Nah, he had to change out the calipers because he took them off and he realized the pistons were shot. He was like, fuck. These pistons are shot, so he's gonna need calipers for it. But here's the thing, my dad didn't even take it to a shop. He already knew what the fuck was wrong with it. But he was pissed, but it's stupid because it passed a 5-star inspection. According to them, it passed the inspection to be sold.
Yeah, and they're the ones that inspected it too. Yeah, of course it passes. We're gonna sell you this hunk of shit. It's like, yeah, like that's how they get people, bro.
Oh,
And
shit. And then my dad also had to do the death system. He had to fix the death system on it, so he had to pull the tank out and do some work on that. And when he went to drain it, luckily I had one of those pump funnels because I bought it for whenever I go to do the transmission on my truck again.
I'm so glad. Because here's the thing. I'm so glad I was able to get rid of my Mustang. Because here's the problem. Those Mustangs are unibody. So the frame and the body are like the same major like component. You know what I mean? So, and since the frame was rotted out, I would have had to buy a whole nother body. I would have had to buy a whole nother Mustang in shit condition to, you know what I mean, to swap whatever components were still available on my Mustang, only being like the engine and transmission, the drivetrain, and all the other components were shot. Tie rods shot, ball joints shot, fucking control arms rusted out to the point where you could stick your fucking finger through the control arm. And I'm just like, bro, dude, this thing is a fucking death trap, bro. And like, you know what I mean? And I drove that thing for like, I'm not gonna say where, but I drove that thing for miles, bro, to get back home. That dealership was an hour and 15-minute drive from my house. So I drove that thing home, and needless to say, I was fucking pissed. Now, when I bought the Camaro, the only fuck shit with the Camaro so far was the wheels, right? They were these oversized aluminum wheels, and the previous owner just, man, I don't know. The actual rim had a bent, like a bend in it, like it bent, and so it was allowing tire pressure to relieve itself. Now they put these big ass wheels on my car with these thin ass tires on a Camaro, and my what do you call it? My ball joints were not wearing evenly, so I had to replace those. There was a couple studs that snapped. Um, the tires were like all to shit. One of them was coming off the rim, and so it's like, well, and I was missing some lug nuts. I was missing 2 lug nuts on my car. That was fun. But I got all new factory OEM wheels put on there. All new studs and lug nuts and ball joints and everything. And not ball joints, wheel bearings. I'm sorry, that's what was wearing unevenly was the wheel bearings. So that's all good. And apart from that, its frame is good. Its frame is clean. And it's been a pretty reliable little work car. Now it's got 2 different colored headlights. One of them is orange and the other is blue, like a white blue, bright color. To replace that yellow headlight, or replace both of them, I might do headlights and taillights. You know, kit out the body panels a little bit. I might change out the grille to be more honeycomb style. Um, I'm not a big fan of the grille that's on my car right now.
Shit, my dad, he's gonna have to replace a fuel line on his second gen Cummins. So that's because, because that fuel line's almost 30 years old. That's one thing I will say about those old Cummins. They can take a fucking beating. Those old second gen and first gen Cummins can take a fucking beating. I mean, shit. My dad did 2 years ago when he did the tie rods on that truck, and he put a new control arm rod on there. we were driving. This is shit. How long ago was Hurricane Helene?
Ah, dude, I don't fucking remember.
Well, okay, so when Hurricane Helene had came through, we had to go to South Carolina to get a fucking welding machine, and we were driving back, and the bracket that held the control arm fucking snapped off. So that truck got the fucking death wobble going on it.
The death wobble.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
And so my mom was driving the truck, and so that truck's got a 5-speed manual on it, and we were going about 70 miles an hour.
So,
Yeah.
I will come out and say this. Like I said, the next car I plan on buying, probably within like a couple years. I know, we'll see what my next career option is, because I am going to be quitting my job at some point and switching to something higher paying. I hope to get into sales. Um, I think I'm going to buy another BMW. I really like BMWs. BMWs. Brankenshire Motorenwerke. I absolutely, I loved mine, dude. Like, it was such a nice car, man. Nicest thing I ever owned.
Yeah. Well, we already know what my career choice is.
Waffle House.
Oh, you fucking jackass.
Oh man, it was Waffle. It's
Pain thinner for a living.
Waffle House's way or the highway.
Well, hey, don't say anything about me eating paint thinner, because I mean I love that shit. I mean I've had to breathe in silica before, so you
So
already know my brain's a little fucking messed up.
so yeah, when it comes to like nice cars and stuff like that, I just love BMW. I love BMW, man. I
Well, yeah.
really, really, really do like. I like the 3 Series. I think it is one of the best, especially like 3 Series coupes. Like, I like the 328i, the 330i. You know, I like some of the higher end stuff too. Like the 5 Series Beamers were really cool because, right, like you got that V10 in a family sedan. That's kind of cool, but it's, the same problem I have with like those high performance track engines being in SUVs. It's kind of doesn't belong in there. Um,
I mean shit, I like BMWs too. I like the 2005 M3, but that's mostly because of Need for Speed. But as far as like a practical vehicle goes, I want to get a truck with a bigger bed on it.
I like the I like F-150s. I personally prefer the F-150s. Or even the F-250s. Either or I think is a good option. The Ford, like the 2017 Ford Rangers are fucking based. Obviously, they're a lot larger than those 90s Rangers, because really, the 1990s
That's not
Ford
a Ranger.
Rangers.
That's an F-150. I'm sorry, it's just a dwarf-sized F-150 with a Ranger badge on it.
I mean, like, yeah, we could. I think we can kind of agree and disagree here. I do agree that they're definitely not stylistically different from the F-150s as far as like the general front end and rear end and side profiling goes. Obviously, they're dwarf sized, yeah, and that's really the only difference. But you got to remember those '90s Rangers were really like Mazda pickup trucks. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, like I've looked on Facebook Marketplace and I saw a truck. I saw a Mazda truck one time. I thought it was a Ford Ranger for a
Yeah, because
second.
Ford and Mazda had that partnership for a little while there. And, really that's what it was. It was like a rebadged Mazda truck. You know what I mean? That Ford was offering. I don't know if did you know that? If you actually research the history of like the Ford Rangers, that's really what they were at that point in time. Now, obviously, because of modern times, modern day, we could all agree that those Rangers from the '90s were way too undersized. They're like when you compare them to like modern vehicle, they're microscopic, dude. Like they're tiny. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with a tiny like truck, but like,
I mean, their purpose was not to be like a family vehicle or used as a, day-to-day truck. It was like, pretty much it was like a little farm truck. And also that Ranger I had, the shift, the knob on the stick shift, had a tendency to pop off. The, on the top of the shifter, right? So the knob, the cap loved to come off, and I found it out when I went to move that truck, and I went to shift, and the fucker popped off, and I'm like, you dirty motherfucker.
how you gotta hold on to like the little like stud holding the knob on there or whatnot.
Oh, see, the shifter stick, so the way that truck was set up, the shifter stick was about, the shifter rod, the main handle, was about 2 feet tall.
What?
So, might have been more like, a foot tall.
So you gotta really like. That's kind of awkward though.
Not really. Look up a 96 Ranger 5-speed manual shifter.
I don't know, but the next car I want is like another like 2011 BMW 328i. I'm sorry. That's gonna be the next car I'm gonna get, bro. Because honestly, dude, I really miss mine. I really loved mine. You know, and I think personally, oh my God, does the top car match my car? Look, it's the exact same car. See, literally the exact same BMW. It's the exact same M3. But I've contemplated, getting like a newer Honda Civic, and I'm someone that hates Hondas. I was a Honda hater for sure. But out of all like the four cylinder like little mini sports cars or whatever you want to call them, the Honda Civics.
I
Um,
just sent you a couple pictures. That's kind of what the shifter looked like.
but I've considered owning one. But it's not something that I take as serious as like something like what I'm driving in the video game right now. But my car was almost just like this actually, just like the video game, except mine was not the M3. Mine was the 328i coupe, so it was only two door, just like this. And I didn't have my fender looked different. It didn't have those like cool vents. My hood didn't have those mini vents, and it didn't have the dual exhaust. It only had the like one exhaust on one side, and obviously it didn't have the engine. It didn't have the M3 engine. And obviously the wheel specs, the wheels were different, but you know,
Hey, so on the topic of like older versus newer like trucks, one thing I like about older trucks is the bench seat.
oh yeah, where it would just be continuous, like there wouldn't be a
Yeah.
center console.
Well, see, my dad's all the 90, all the, see, both 90 Rams he 98 Ram 2500 gasser, and then his second gen he has, it's got a third seat in the front, but it's one of those, you know, those second gen Rams. It's got the folding down center console.
Okay, yeah.
Which I like those. I mean, it's one of those where if you don't need the seat, you can fold down that center console and you have someplace to put your stuff. And then, of course, if you need it, you can fold it back up. But the sucky thing about his second gen, about his the 2500 diesel he has, is because it's got a manual. If you sit in the middle seat, you got to deal with the shifter right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I like the. I don't know what you'd consider this, an SUV or a truck. I consider it a truck with the Ford Bronco, the older, like the 1984 Ford Bronco.
It, so the Ford Bronco is kind of like the Ford Excursion, you know. It's it looks like an SUV, but it's on a truck body because you know the Ford Excursion, pretty much the front end is a fucking F-250 Super Duty.
Yep. Which, do you know Ford's bringing back the Excursion?
That's one thing I will say. Some vehicle models you don't need to bring back because they're going to try and modernize it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's another thing with me. I don't really like modern vehicles. I don't know. It's just, I've always noticed they have issues.
yeah, I think, well,
Yeah.
today's car market in general with modern cars, I feel like a lot of emphasis is taken away from the driving experience. A lot of it just comes down to having these large computer screens and a bunch of other useless features that nobody really cares about. I mean, are there people that care about, like, the tech features? Sure. Okay, but really all a car is four wheels and an engine. We don't need to overcomplicate it
I
here.
mean, if you want like Bluetooth in your vehicle, then just pay the extra money and put a fucking stereo in there that has Bluetooth capability.
And yeah, you could do that, but I mean, some people don't know how to do it themselves, and they'd have to pay somebody else to do it. But then also, sometimes a lot of older cars, they don't have the actual wiring capabilities of actually being able to properly do it.
That's where you gotta jury rig it together.
Jerry rig does not instill confidence. um, Depending on what vehicle you're jerry rigging, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if it's like an old rust bucket fucking Chevy S10, yeah, do whatever you fucking want to that thing. All right, you're not gonna ruin its value. I can guarantee it.
But don't. But be nice to that second gen Cummins. And if you squat that second gen fucking Dodge Diesel, I will come and I will find you and I will slap the ever living shit out of you. And then I will
What is the
change
point?
your
What is the point of squatting your car? Because, like, could you imagine what that would be like to drive it? You'd have to sit in it like a fucking astronaut. You know what I, you know what
The
I
only
mean?
time your truck should be squatted is when you have a load in it. And so I'm gonna tell you right now, when my jaw box was in my truck squatted a little bit. And driving that fucker felt weird. It felt like the fucking truck wanted to pivot when I would turn. You know what I mean? You remember from Ford versus Ferrari when fucking Ken says the car, when he first sees the Ford GT and he says the car wants to fly.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't like staying on the ground.
that's kind of how it felt driving my Chevy with a jaw box in it.
Got all that funky weight moving around. Like, whoa, what is this doing here? Whoa,
Yeah.
boom. I uh, I gotta say, The Ford, those '90s Ford Escapes, not Escapes. What were they? They kind of look like the fucking Honda Pilot. You know what I'm talking about? Is it the Escape? I think it might be the Escape. Those things were cool. But when they turned the Escape into like a micro or a larger Ford Focus, that's kind of when I just drew my line in the sand. You know. But no, I think the next car I'm gonna own is gonna be another Beamer. Um, I'm gonna try to own the exact same Beamer. No, obviously not the exact same car, 'cause that car is totaled.
It's sitting in a landfill
Yeah, it
with a
died.
swirl of raccoons, with a mommy and daddy's raccoon getting busy.
Oh, okay, that's kind of a that turned into an X-rated tidbit there. Um, no, like, I mean, I would hate to just imagine my poor car, my poor Beamer, just sitting in some landfill somewhere with like creatures living inside of it and like eating
Yeah,
its
they're getting
leather.
busy in there.
Dude, god damn it. Like that would just make me cry because it's like, dude, I did that,
Well,
bro.
that's part of the appeal of a Beamer is the sex appeal.
The sex appeal. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I got laid in that car quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie. All right, all right. I'm gonna come out and say it, bro. I got laid
Yeah,
quite a
let's
bit in
just
that
be
car.
honest. That's a fact. Part of why some people like a BMW is the sex appeal.
um. Yeah. Yeah. I will say this though, for sure. Um, I really, 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 really miss the feeling of just sitting in that nice bucket seat. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound retarded when I say this, but like my Beamer had the most comfortable like driver passenger seats. Like those first two seats, dude, bro, like dude, you could literally sit in those for hours, bro. So comfortable. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like the little heated thing on the headrest or whatever, dude. Like that car was cool, bro. Like that car was just cool. All right. Like I felt like James Bond. You know the main menu music for like the fucking James Bond video game 007? The fucking
Oh, I didn't play those, but
GoldenEye.
I remember my biological mom's boyfriend had that.
Bro, like you could listen to that main menu theme, and if you're wearing the right watch, and if you're wearing a suit or you're wearing anything similar to like what James Bond would wear, anything Ralph Lauren, you would just feel like James Bond, bro. Like not even gonna lie, bro. You would just feel like James Bond. It's not an Aston Martin, but it's a BMW. It's German engineering at its finest. Like when it comes down to German cars, Mercedes or BMW, I'm gonna say BMW. Brandsche Motorenwerke. All the way. I mean, seriously, it's literally the hero car of Need for Speed Most Wanted, the M3 GTR. 2005 M3